Let's get something straight right now. The ongoing meltdown over Rey Skywalker is one of the most embarrassing overreactions in modern fandom history. Not because people dislike her, that's fine, but because so many fans refuse to admit why she threatens them. Rey doesn't threaten Star Wars. She threatens people's comfort with who they thought Star Wars was for. From her very first appearance, Rey is already living a harder life than most Jedi ever did. She isn't discovered by a master. She isn't protected by an order. She isn't told she's special. She's alone on Jakku, scraping starship wreckage for food, fixing machinery no one else understands, surviving violence with instinct and grit. That's not a Mary Sue. That's environmental storytelling doing its job. And here's the part people hate admitting. The Force responds to survival, trauma, intuition, and balance. It always has. Luke was a moisture farmer. Anakin was a slave. Rey is a scavenger. The difference? Rey doesn't whine about it. She adapts. People love to scream no training, as if Star Wars hasn't always shown Force sensitivity erupting under stress. Luke blows up the Death Star after a few conversations and a helmet. Anakin pilots a starfighter at 9. But when Rey survives a duel, lifts rocks, or resists domination, suddenly we're pretending realism matters in a universe with space wizards. No. What actually changed is who the power fantasy belongs to. Rey doesn't fight like a Jedi Knight trained in marble halls. She fights like someone who's been punched, cornered, starved, and forced to defend herself. Her aggression isn't elegance, it's survival instinct. Her strength isn't choreography, it's desperation meeting the Force head-on. That's not lazy writing, that's a different lens. Now let's talk about the real source of the outrage. Rey refuses to be defined by legacy. She doesn't worship the past, she questions it. She learns from it, and then she moves beyond it. That alone makes certain fans furious, because Star Wars fandom has spent decades treating lineage like religion. Bloodlines, chosen families, sacred names. Rey walks into that mythology and says, no, the Force doesn't belong to you. And that's where Daisy Ridley deserves far more credit than she ever gets. She plays Rey with restraint, not smugness, with fear, not arrogance, with curiosity, not entitlement. She sells awe and doubt at the same time, which is incredibly difficult to do in a franchise built on certainty and prophecy. She carried a trilogy where the audience was already angry before the first frame rolled. No nostalgia armor, no forgiveness buffer, just expectation, pressure, and hostility. And she still delivered a character who feels earnest in a franchise drowning in irony. Now here's the statement that really sets people off, and good, it should. Rey is more Jedi than most Jedi we've seen. She resists power instead of chasing it. She seeks connection instead of domination. She chooses mercy when vengeance would be easier. And when she finally embraces her strength, she does it without surrendering herself to it. That is literally the Jedi ideal, stripped of politics, temples, and hierarchy. And let's address the Palpatine revelation, because this is where the hypocrisy explodes. Star Wars fans spent decades defending Vader's redemption despite genocide. But Rey having dark lineage and choosing light anyway? Suddenly that's bad writing. No, that's Star Wars staring you directly in the face and asking if you actually believe its message. Rey's story says destiny is not inheritance, power is not permission, and legacy is not ownership. If that makes you uncomfortable, then congratulations, the story is working. Rey doesn't erase Luke. She doesn't replace Anakin. She doesn't invalidate Obi-Wan. She challenges the idea that their experiences were the only valid ones. She expands the myth instead of preserving it in amber. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit out loud. If Rey had been written exactly the same power, same arc, same victories, but wrapped in nostalgia and male expectation, the conversation would be completely different. The anger isn't about lore, it's about control. Rey represents Star Wars refusing to belong to a single generation forever, and the louder people scream about her, the more obvious it becomes that the Force doing what it's always done, choosing unexpected people, still scares the hell out of them. You don't have to love every sequel decision to understand this. Rey is not the failure of Star Wars. She's the stress test, and the reaction tells you everything.